Do you have much for today in terms of what you're seeing?
Well, my eyes are still kind of waking up, but yeah, I want to have a quick look at the Ethereum chart. Let's just see
Mm.
who's in the crowd today. Good morning, everybody. Good evening, wherever you are
Morning, guys.
in the world. Let's have a go through. Okay. Um, everybody's reading Scott's emails, yeah? It's important that you read those daily emails because he's always given a commentary on the market. And his email this morning was about, oh, I've lost my share screen. Everything's. Am I sharing screen? No, I'm not.
Mm-mm.
There we go. Right. His email this morning is about Ethereum, Michael Saylor, although he's been talking about it a little bit. But all of that Michael Saylor and buying Ether's treasuries and stuff like that. I mean, if we just look at Ethereum, let's go down here. Let's start just on this red line. I mean, there's a
And
hundred.
we did touch on it last time. Well, we'll talk about
Hmm.
it again, but then we did yeah mention it before.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken, don't get me wrong, it's taken some time to, yeah, I mean, 6 months
Mm.
thereabouts. But these things are slow, man. They don't move fast like say we, the royal we, it's always wake up, move, come on, move.
Mm-hmm.
But right, let's get down to some serious stuff then. So, um, a weakening resistance around this green line of 4,000. And I mean, this has been, I got your face there. This is the 24th, 26th of February last year. So, I mean, this has been in play for a long time. We kiss it, we reject, we kiss it, we reject. We had quite a downside deviation here before we touched it again. And then that was a really ugly reject from there. I mean, 1392. Imagine if you were buying ETH at 1392. That would be pretty great. And then it's pretty clear to an 8-year-old, which is always, Scott's test. Is it a trend or is it a trading range? And the trend should be obvious to an 8-year-old. So we are in a trend. But what's interesting is that, when you break these trends down a little bit further, you can see we've reclaimed this red level. Okay, I mean, this is far from a picture perfect retest, but it doesn't matter. We then shot up to this blue level where we hammered out a base here for a little while, grabbed a little liquidity, whoomph, and then we were up again. Now we smashed straight through this next level, but we couldn't quite get over. But then the next week we've gone through it again. It's just strength after strength after strength with Ethereum. And this is a really impressive weekly candle, to get this full close above that green line. So now it's a case of will it build upon that this week? So then we get down to our kind of probabilities, don't we? What's the probability that we will come down and retest this green line? Might just be a quick wick, might happen one day, might not do at all. Like ETH might just keep on flying. So ETH is the one that I'm most interested in at the moment, but other metrics such as the this is the altcoin market cap, Let's get it on the monthly, maybe the weekly, just so we can see it nice and easy. Here we go. This is the easiest one to see. So again, now I realize that this isn't price action. This is something else that we're doing here, but we can still see how we move through these levels. And we can see at this 315 billion, we didn't quite touch it last week. We were over the line there, we were rejected, we were straight back up. So capturing this line again, okay, the window's open, I'm not going to say alt season, I'm not going to say full blown, but I mean this is really healthy here. This is really healthy. So what's going to happen this week? What I want to see happen this week is that we go over that 315, and then much like Ethereum did, we get a really strong weekly close above that line as well. So I think that's going to be a pretty big one to watch this week. The Bitcoin dominance. This is, we could get a total collapse here. We could get a total collapse, drop down to 40%, have the greatest alt season since 2021. Or we might just hammer out a base here for whatever time, and then Bitcoin might have another surge in it. At the moment, we're just kind of sandwiched in this black and blue range. Okay. However, we didn't weekly close below this. It's a full candle body above it. So kind of who knows with there. But if you look at this Ethereum dominance, well, I mean, you can see after a long time of being second fiddle, it's just showing absolute strength now. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that's making me feel like, well, this is pretty good. This all seems to be going in the right direction. Things seem to be quite nice, if you know what I mean. And that's just about the time you. Oh.
It's one of those things with crypto, isn't it? Like, yeah. But things look good, right? I have a few things to show you guys, but before we get into the nitty gritty, just want to ask you, how do you guys feel about the whole market right now? Like, do you feel bullish? Do you feel bearish? Do you feel that? How do you guys feel?
Well,
How about Ina? I'll show you how about Ina, because that's been our greatest trade ever. Not ever. We had very good trades last year. So yep, rate cuts. We want to talk about that. Bullish. Todd feels tired, man. Man, I know, man. I'm same way, man. Like that's kind of the thing, right? Bullish but waiting for a downside swing. Okay. Big runs on time in Q4. Ready and waiting. Okay. Okay. Rate cuts would be great, but markets may not care lately. Okay. All right. That's an interesting view. So I'm gonna talk about a bunch of what you guys just mentioned. So conservative wondering. All right. So let me just share my screen and let's do you guys see my screen?
We can, yeah. Look at these victories.
So if you guys were positioned early in the trend with Ina, this is where we're up to right now. We haven't closed this one yet. This is the second trade with a higher leverage, and it's doing great. So far so good. We took something on Friday, so we took Bonk, which is being volatile, but I'm expecting to do much better than this. Arrow came back right good, and another one that we took on Friday. So far we're doing good with Link. So it's doing great. Like we're doing okay. Obviously we've been stopped out on so many different trades as well, so it's part of the game. But this is when we sort of get paid. Like this is when we actually get paid on these trends. So where are we at with Bitcoin? And let's go through the basics first. So this is the daily, and we were talking about these levels here, and I was, on Friday I was talking about this level around the 117. Now we just broke about that one, but what do we know about these breaks over the weekend? And we've seen these things over and over and over and over again, and just I want to ask you guys, what do you guys think about these levels over the weekend? Because this happened yesterday. That was Sunday, illiquid market, right? Big push. Okay, so what do we know? Like we've been talking about this one like in every single Monday morning. Everybody's quiet, man. Everybody's quiet.
I mean, that's one of the busiest weekends I've seen for a long time, with prices actually going up over the weekend, rather than
Yep.
it that hedge that everybody's short in, or it just being static over the weekend. It's like stuff was actually moving, money was flowing.
Yep. So one thing that we have to be aware of the weekend is that financial markets are closed. It's basically retail markets that are open, like people like you, me, but also finance market use this weekend hours to either risk or de-risk or leverage out or whatever. So I just want to see the behavior, but I don't want to go straight into it, especially after a weekend, right? Why? This is very bullish. It's very positive. If we have a sustainability, let's say until Wednesday, then we can perhaps see the next leg up. If we don't, we're going to become range. And I've been saying this, that we could perhaps, this is the first sort of outlook that we can actually see, and we can actually see a range on Bitcoin. This is not bad. This is just a behavior that it could happen, right? So we just outline the possibilities, right? So that's kind of the first possibility that we have, that a range, right? That's kind of my range from there. But where is the range? Is that going to be a 111? Is that going to be a 115? So I'm just going with the fact that we can actually see the range from here until 115, which is pretty much the gap that is being filled on the CME. That was the biggest gap that we had on the CME. So just pay close attention to that. We did talk about it last week. But from the inflows perspective, let me just, and by the way, this is probably why the main things happen on Friday, and that's why I decided to take a couple of trades on Friday, preempting the breakout of Ethereum more than likely. But then obviously I didn't go that heavily because anything could happen. But this is pretty bullish for crypto. Like that, this news were on Friday, and essentially what he's saying is he aims that now is going to allow the 401ks to actually invest in crypto, so it's more liquidity coming into the market, right? So this is very, very positive. And if you tie this up with the all the stuff that's happening around tax, and that's why I decided to take Link, and around all the stuff that Trump is doing for American tokens or American coins or whatever you want to call it, then all those dinos coins might get back into all-time highs. That's kind of my thesis, one of the theses, right? So have that in mind. Obviously, if something fails into this sort of news, something to be mindful, then markets are going to price that in as a risk assets, and then this is not going to follow through. But as long as this keeps going, more than likely, things are looking more bullish than ever, right? So, and you can actually see that if we have a look at the inflows of the Ethereum ETFs, right? So up until probably that was Wednesday, I think, that yeah. On Wednesday, we started seeing positive inflows coming back in, right? And this is what on Friday I was talking about, the possibility that we had a really good chance to break above the 4,000, because I was seeing the inflows. Then you go back to Velo data, and then this is just to give you a recap of what we were seeing on Friday. Now, on Friday, on Friday, we were seeing positive CVD on spot. So technically that supports the buying on that. This could be ETFs, this could be people buying spot on Ethereum, this could be anybody, right? But then you can actually see the inflows. And on top of that, you're now getting leverage, right? So that's the perfect sort of combination to have those breakouts, which we did, okay? Now what we're seeing here is that as of this morning, roughly early this morning, I'm seeing some sell-offs on the spot side of things. So now we're gonna leave this is usually when it happens when we have like flushes on leverage. You know, people that went crazy on leverage, then you get big wicks downs and then new spot coming in and then and so forth. So watch over these levels on Ethereum. Let's have a look at Ethereum now. Let's have a look at Bitcoin first, because we're looking at Bitcoin and then I jump into Ethereum. My bad. That's my. All right. So in terms of Bitcoin, right, what we're seeing from Friday, right, we're seeing CVD spot going up and up and up and up. So this is an inflow of spot buying. So essentially, I could see the next high hitting if we have sustainability on the CVD spot, right? We have two different sort of triggers here. So we have the CVD keep buying. Now we have liquidations to the upside. So you can actually see these liquidations here. And these liquidations here is, you know, people that think that this is going to go down, they start shorting the market, right? And if they short the market, then once you get the liquidations to the upside, it's going to fuel the market to the upside. And that usually is done by the spot people buying, technically, you know. So far it looks good, right? So far it looks good. As long this keeps stable, doesn't necessarily need to go all the way up, but at least, you know, if this becomes ranging and we do have at least in small time frames sustainability on this range, then I could definitely sustain the fact that we might have a big leg up in Ethereum. Therefore, alts are going to be beneficiary. It's going to be a huge beneficiary out of this market going huge, right? So that's kind of the thesis that I'm in at the moment, right? Everything is looking pretty good. Let's have a look at Ethereum from the price action perspective first. So Ethereum, yeah, we did talk about this level here last week, right? And we were talking about, especially up in here, that was a very crucial moment, either retraces or either it goes. And on Friday, this is kind of the first time that we see that we did have that inflow. And what we did talk about in the last couple of calls is that now Ethereum has a different kind of liquidity, right? It's not the same thing that is being. Let me just open this up on the weekly. So we did touch on this last, I think 2 weeks ago, that, you know, this level here, we had a 1, 2, 3 times, right? A huge resistance or huge level here, call it liquidity level, call it resistance, call it pocket, call it whatever. But then on last year, there wasn't enough liquidity to break these levels. Now, in terms of liquidity, we have now treasury companies buying this thing, thinking about the same trade that Saylor has done with Bitcoin, right? And now, if you're thinking from that perspective, it is a pretty good proposition, right? Like if you can start staking Ethereum, right, on your books, you have ETFs, then you borrow against it and things like that, and then you're gonna make instead of investing on property or investing on that on your from a company perspective, now you're gonna start investing on assets, right? And Ethereum is the most obvious play here, right? So that could be why we've seen this influx of liquidity. Is this going to stop? I don't think so far, unless we can start seeing the inflows. Let me go back to the inflows. All right. So if we start seeing inflows trending down, then I'll start getting worried, right? In terms of actually getting out of positions and things like that. But so far, obviously, we did have profit taking here. But if we start seeing something like this, right? Like inflows on a high, like, on long, like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, then we start seeing weakness on that particular asset. So more than likely, so far, everything is looking good. I'm not saying that it will continue this way. So it's a few things that I'm looking towards, especially to the end of the month, and towards the end of the month is I think it's Jacksonville meeting or something like that, and a lot of financial traders look down to that meeting to give you the right sense of how September is going to play out, right? So if we start seeing a bullish, like really, really massive bullish trend towards August, probably I will start to risk. I will not close position, but I will start the risk just in case if the mood changes, especially on September. Okay, because that would mean is people are front running the rate cuts. Some of you guys actually mentioned the rate cut things or whatever. So a lot of traders are front running, thinking that that's going to happen, and that's going to happen in September. If it happens, probably, and if we have the market actually going up, more than likely that price action already being priced in, and then if we have the rate cuts, that's going to be sell the news event, kind of, right, for a little bit. I'm very bullish, right? I'm very bullish. I'm just talking about short term in terms of position with leverage and things like that. But if you buy in spot, I wouldn't worry. So far, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of my outlook for the month. So towards probably next week, the closer we get to the end of the month in August, I will be sort of looking where the price action has been and probably start risking. That's so far, unless something changes earlier. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. However, this price action looks pretty good, man. Like this Ethereum at least is going to go 4,800. So now we're talking about that all-time highs, the 4,800 level. And if it does, then it's a price discovery. All right. So Ethereum price discovery is going to be very, very interesting for alts, right? It's going to give us pretty much it's going to give us pretty much all the fuel that we need in alts. Alts are going to go crazy. We'll see. It's just the fact that it's so many alts, there's so much liquidity around there, around that needs to happen all at once. I don't think everything will happen at once, but we'll be tracking at least the main narratives that we can just get position on. Okay, so now what we're talking about, let's have a look at Solana, right? So Solana is getting up there as well. So let me just bring back to daily, okay? All right, so Solana is actually on this level here, the 184 level, and this has been a very significant sort of level to break. However, if we start seeing fuel in Solana, we start seeing fuel in Ethereum, more than likely we're going to get into this sort of bullish condition, alts, everything going crazy. So that could be that could be the time to actually start going a little bit more risk on, right? Be aware. What I mean risk on, if you don't leverage, so you risk a little bit higher, because the chances are that things will have continuation. However, if you do that, bear in mind that you need to take profits, otherwise you're going to be over leveraged at some point. Okay, so that's kind of something that you need to be mindful if you're using leverage. Okay, if you're not using leverage and using spot, should be okay, right? Like we saw any wicks to the downside or any liquidity coming down quite quickly and coming back up, things like that. But with leverage, it's a different game. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm seeing at the moment. What I want to keep seeing is Bitcoin remaining on that range. As long as it remains on if it breaks above here, it's even better, right? But if it breaks above here, what we need to be mindful is that if Ethereum is going to have continuation to the upside, right? And that is going, let me show you this chart that I prepared for you guys. And we have on the top, right? And this is why I think we're getting very close to go very high risk, and this is when we actually make good money. So Bitcoin up here, we have Bitcoin dominance in the middle, and we have the total tree without USDT and without USDC, okay? Now, obviously, total tree here is without Bitcoin, without Ethereum as well. So what I want you to pay attention is that Bitcoin usually, once we go into all-time highs, right, then we consolidate for a little while, right? So the consolidation between on November after it broke all-time highs, right? When, let me just draw this a second. I will say this is the period of consolidation, right? Okay. During this period, we're gonna have, sorry about my dog, if you guys listen to, my dog is going nuts. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Todd Jackson, Full Symposium. Yeah, so 22. So be aware of around that sort of event. And that event, usually, if people either front run what they're going to say or either stay still, and then after that is going to be an impact in financial markets, and crypto is going to get affected to it. So that's kind of the next thing that I'm looking at. Until then, I still think that we have more to go in terms of alts. So, but going back to this, what I want to see is Bitcoin sort of holding that range. When I hold that range, more than likely, Bitcoin dominance start going down as long as alts are keep going out or the market are going up. This is the window of opportunity that we kind of hope for this time around. And it's sort of shaping that way. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I'm chasing. And if you go back from history, this happens often. This happens quite often. Bitcoin doesn't need to go crazy; it just needs to go into a range. And Bitcoin dominance obviously is just Bitcoin dominance is the product of Ethereum going up, alts going up, and switching capital. So obviously this is just kind of like a lagging indicator. But what I want to see is alts are actually pricing. So essentially we're getting close to this price action, and this price action lasted for probably from December until January, and this is when the massive amount of alts had the most bull effect, call it that way. So this is what I'm tracking. As long as we keep that momentum, we have the same range, and then I'll sort of start breaking above these levels. More than likely, I'm gonna start going a little bit more risk on it. So that's kind of the plan, and we're getting there. So far in terms of macro, this is how I want to play things. Let's talk about the trades that we're on at the moment, okay, and the levels that I'm watching. So let me talk about ENA first, because someone asked in terms of ENA. So this is our first trade on ENA. We started on July. and so far we, it's going crazy. I'm not planning to, probably I'm just going to start moving the stop loss, but the problem with moving the stop loss is that if you get a big wick down, then you're gonna get stopped out, and more than likely you might not get back in. You're gonna get back in at a different price. So now that we priced in, probably, moving the stop loss like below the 200 EMA could be a really good idea. That's on the first trade that we took on INA, and then the second trade that we took on INA. Let me just show you from this small time perspective, right? This is with the higher risk, right? So far, what I'm looking, INA has been sort of the combination of the confluence of a few narratives that I'm don't expect to stop. So one of them is the Genius Act. It's a stable coin. It has its own blockchain, and it's a proven concept. So there's a different congruent narratives that are getting together. So that's why I'm big on this one so far. So that's why I'm not heavy taking profits on this one yet. Which by all means, if you're too high on leverage, you can actually just take some profits right here and use that to fuel other trades and things like that. But that's another way to play it. But probably with this one, it's not a bad idea to start moving the stop loss now to break even, or even to this level up here, the probably 60 cents level. But what I'm seeing on INA is more than likely, we now have this pocket of liquidity coming back here. Let me just all right, this one right here. We approaching that level, and let me just highlight why this level is so important. So usually these points here, you can actually see a lot of fighting. This actually happened on January 2025, right? It happened a lot of fighting around here between bulls and bears, right? And then this is actually when the bears start winning, right? And why? Because this is the part of when actually price went down, started going down again. Okay. So very important level to watch, right? Now, if we have continuation of momentum, positive news, Ethereum, and INA being an Ethereum sort of beta, this is kind of my biggest beta in Ethereum right now. And then probably is going to give us the fuel to break these levels here. If we do, there is a high likelihood that we're going to reach all-time highs, okay? And all-time highs of INA are about, is that all-time high? Let me just bring this down to watching this on the 6 hours. Sorry. Let me put it from the weekly perspective. All right. So where's all-time highs in INA? All-time highs are about 1.5, right? Then we have listing price as a significant pricing, which is about around 1.20, 1.19, right? And now if I bring it down to the daily, we have this level of liquidity that I'm watching closely, right, to see what happens here. That we are approaching, right? So once we clear this level here, which is the $1, and have in mind that, and I did talk about it several times, like all these $1, $1.50, $2, or even $1.50, $1.40, $1.30, they act as a psychological support and resistance, right? Whenever it's a price discovery level, have in mind that there's $1.50, $1.40, $1.30, $2, $5, whatever it is, on a whole number act as a significant resistance, right? Because people just thinking from their perspective is like, when are you gonna take profits? No, when it hits $1, when it hits $2, when it hits $3, right? No one is gonna say no when it hits $1.83 and 42 cents. You know what I mean? Like so obviously think about it from that perspective. So this is a very significant level, the $1. Now, if we clear that level, then I will expect that we're going to move really fast to the 1.3. And then as long we have continuity on Ethereum, I could definitely see this one hitting all-time highs. Very close, right? Very close. And the momentum is there. So we can actually see this momentum happening. We're going to see if going to be any profit taken, any huge profit taken around these levels here. But I will say at least we're going to retest the $1 area. So that could be perhaps my first target, especially on the high leverage trade that we took, this one. Yeah. So probably at this $1 level, I might take 50%, probably, or 30% maybe. You know, let's see how the market behaves when we reach up this level. So that's kind of the plan that I have with ENA. Okay, so for those ones that I asked. Okay, that's a very good question, Jeff. So what makes ENA unique in its sector? So ENA is, I highly encourage you to go into the Athena Labs website and look at the stable coin that they created. They created a stable coin. It's called USD.E. That's actually being used on Bybit and different ones. And the fact is that they kind of created an algorithm that you do not need the US dollar in order to sustain a stable coin. So what happens now with stable coin is you have USDT, USDC as your main stable coins, but they all backed up by dollar, by the value of the dollar. ENA, in the other hand, uses crypto assets, or different mechanisms to actually have a stability on a different level. So that's the different proposition of ENA and why ENA has been in our watch list since the beginning. Obviously, we've been holding this for ages, but then that's kind of the proposition. And now it's good things that happen to ENA in terms of the Genius Act, and they're going to launch a new product that actually matches the Genius Act thing because they do have the technology behind it. So that's kind of why ENA, I could see it at least going to the same levels that it used to be before. Is that going to be enough to break to all-time highs? Let's see. Let's see what the market is actually doing when this asset approach to those levels. But as fact of price action momentum, that's why we kind of going a little bit heavier on this one. Oh, I did, right? So yeah. Okay, let's talk about Bonk, because Bonk is the trade that we just took on Friday. So I was a little bit more risk on this one. A stop loss is a little bit sort of below these lows here in terms of small time frames. So what I want to see with Bonk is clearing those levels at least this week. And Bonk is being sort of for the ones that don't know, Bonk now launched an ecosystem that you can actually launch meme coins and stuff on Bonk, on their chain. So it's a really good proposition. It's a new things coming up on Bonk as well. So that's kind of why I took the price from what it was. I don't even know how, like 12 microcents, whatever you want to say. Yeah, it took 218% from the lows, right? So I expect that this is a regular profit taking. This is a good retracement, and what I expect of Bonk doing is at least going back into that range here, the 40 area. Now this is the place that I wanna perhaps start taking profits, 30%, 50%, and move your stop loss, and then whatever happens. But at least we could see that retracement. That's kind of what I'm expecting of Bonk. But if we have continuation in the market, more than likely I will see Bonk hitting new highs as well. So hitting new highs, I'm talking about this level up here. So that could be my other level taking profits. And then if that happens, then we're gonna have price discovery, right? So the fact that we started having price discovery on XRP, for instance, we still own the XRP. So we still, XRP is in all-time highs, BNB is in all-time highs. as well, right? BNB is an all-time highs, some price discovery. The fact that we have some of these strong tokens actually going into all-time highs, there is a high likelihood that some altcoins, especially strong ones, will catch up, right? And then we'll have continuation, right? So that's kind of my take on Bonk. On Link, let's go through. So Link, yeah, Link was very strong, man. Like, and this is one of the things about trading breakouts. You know, I think we enter around, yeah, we enter around here. It was breaking out in small time frames. You know, with these things, you need to sort of play a really wide stop or just buy spot. But with Link, the fact of Trump, you know, with the news that happened on Friday with Trump and all the sort of stuff, and Link being in the verge, I think I show you guys that it's on the intersection of different sort of markets. So you have, I'll find it. I'll post it tomorrow, right? And then you know, what is it? BlackRock is investing on it. The Liberty Fund is investing on it. There is a lot of liquidity coming into Link. So more than likely, right? If we still have continuation, and let's talk about this one from the weekly perspective, right? I will see hitting these highs right here, the $30. Probably not a bad idea to take some profits right there. And then if we clear that area right there, more than likely is going to get to 52. Then after that, let's see what the market, you know what I mean? Because that's kind of the levels that people are watching. You know, that's what this has done in the past. Okay, so that's just the levels that the people are playing at. So if market makers, if someone wants to drive this price towards a level, more than likely it's going to use previous levels to price to you know to get that price up to that level. What happened after it hits that level? Then we need to sort of evaluate what's Bitcoin is doing, what Ethereum is doing, and on how fast, you know, how much fuel we'll have on these narratives and things like that. So that's kind of where we're at. The one that I want to point out as well is Arrow. So Arrow, I want to add more. Arrow is, you know, we went a little bit under on Arrow, but now we are on profits and it's looking pretty good. So from the weekly perspective, I expect Arrow, you know, hitting highs again. So I might add more if we have the chance, but this is something that is actually performing really good. Same thing, same momentum, good value. Bear in mind that Arrow is very volatile to either side of the direction. So that's something that is actually working pretty well. So that's in terms of the positions that we have. So what I'm focusing on now that I'm saying I'm bullish, and this week at least we're gonna have continuation, but then bear in mind at the end of August. So let's go through our sectors. So unfortunately, I missed LDO. I knew LDO was going to perform in terms of the Ethereum betas, but LDO it's not been nice to me. It's been very volatile, very hard to put a stops. So very hard to actually place a leverage trades on that one. But with that being said, you can actually see that all ETH betas are actually performing really well, right? Very well. The good thing that I want to sort of highlight is that the S&P, like Bitcoin, is now outperforming the S&P 500, right? And if we talk from so S&P 500 right here, okay? So obviously S&P 500 is looking pretty good, even though last week we didn't have like amazing economic news. It's still performing really well. So if we start breaking to all-time highs, probably that's the fuel that it will need for Bitcoin moving to all-time highs again, okay? So is that going to happen? Who knows? But from what I'm seeing at the moment from price action, you guys are all familiar with the VIX, and for those ones that are not, the VIX is an indication of volatility. Whenever I see the VIX going higher, that means the market, the S&P 500, becomes a little bit more volatile. More than likely is, you know, there's a high possibility that people will take profits and will cover risks. And that was actually what happened at the 1st of July. And if you see what happened. Exactly when the VIX start going up, this is when volatility comes in and people are getting sort of concerned on the S&P 500, right? But now we start seeing that the risk is kind of down. So I think this week is a really good week to get positioned, right? At least to start getting, position on really good trends. So in terms of narratives, what I'm saying is AI coming back up. Oh man, AI is hitting me hard with the AI 16 set, but it seems to be coming back up, especially with the freaking launch of GPT-5, Chat GPT-5. It's been a lot of talks about that. So there is a few narratives that I want to sort of highlight. I'm going to be focusing on that this week to see if we can start getting position. We can start seeing that risk assets memes are actually overperforming as well. So everything is kind of overperforming Bitcoin. More than likely is risk on time. The only thing that I want to get clear is the end of August meeting. But if we have continuation to this, more than likely people are front running the news that it will happen. Just be mindful that you need to take some profits before the end of the month. That's pretty much it, guys. Things that I'm watching, you guys already know pretty much everything that I'm watching so far. I've been talking about it every single week, right? So, but I want to highlight CRV. I haven't entered CRV yet, but I really like it from that perspective. I'm not seeing a lot of influx of capital into CRV yet, but it could happen. Fluid is another one that I'm looking very closely. Unfortunately, I missed it completely. I was looking at some of different markets, and I rather go into safer market than Fluid. Fluid could be really high volatile, but it could give you pretty good returns, right? It just broke this level here, and more than likely is approaching to listing price. That's the listing price, right? So either you start risking, right? You start risking a little bit more, or you wait until listing price is broken and this goes into price discovery and things like that. So that's something that I really like. Let's Todd mentioned SPX. So SPX, man, I was watching this level here and it's been pretty positive. Obviously, this is on price kind of discovery at the moment. So starting on price discovery on July, this is kind of the highest that this thing I ever been. But I don't have a lot of fundamentals out of this besides that it's a Murat coin and people loving it and it's a meme coin and things like that. So I don't have a lot of fundamentals out of that. Besides that, price action looks pretty good, pretty amazing, man. Like it looks pretty good. Will I go into this one? I don't know, man. But yeah, it is a pretty price action is pretty strong, man. Pretty strong. Filecoin, I'm still on Filecoin. But let me give you my take in Filecoin because I kind of so we kind of entry price at the moment. Filecoin is what I want to see is that they regain momentum this week. If it doesn't, I might just start cutting or getting some profits. It's a little bit of profits at the moment. We were like up to 50%. It just came down really high, man. It hasn't broken structure yet, but the fact that a Filecoin is just a huge range. This is just a range, right? That we're trading at. So it's just a 50% range up and down. So let's see how this behaves on the week. But if we do not have sort of Filecoin coming along, I might just rethink about my thesis of Filecoin going up to all-time highs, which is a 2.8 kind of thing. Okay, so yeah, so that's kind of my take in terms of Filecoin. And yeah, so obviously FinRev is completely different than what we do here on the 100 Club. Because it goes into sort of the trend, and yeah, it looks like that, but it could actually shift quite quickly. So that's kind of my take on Filecoin at the moment. So STX, let's have a look at STX. STX. Well, STX. All right, so STX, I will have to see what are the inflows of this like on-chain. But so far, that's the level that I'll be watching. And if I will say this is a significant level, but the fact that we are sort of trending towards the upside, breaking into this, more than likely we're going to break this level and at least testing this 200 MA again. So it's not a bad trade to start getting position on STX. So I will look into this one and let me add it to the watch list. Yeah, just from a different perspective. But price action wise, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good, man. Yeah. So if you look at what I want to see on a coin that is sort of might be ready to break is this kind of pattern right here. You see. So you have the lows here. You have this low, price sort of reject, but it never retouched this. What that means, people might be front running. You might get the RTV or RTC set up on this sort of side of things, and then it will have a continuation to the upside. So it looks pretty good, man. It looks pretty good. This is, yeah, we'll have to see if we have any inflows or any narratives or anything like that to accompany STX. But yeah, yeah, besides that, yeah, another one that I was going to watching closely is Mantle. It's two things that I'm watching on Mantle. So, because Mantle has been the best performer in, if you will look at the L1s, right? Mantle outperform everything, right? And then it starts sort of like in accumulation range, consolidation range, right? So I want to see if people are holding this one because this could have another leg up, right? This is another Ethereum beta in a way, right? It's in L1, but still it's Ethereum related. So it looks pretty good from this perspective. And let me just show you guys. This is something that, all right. What do you see here? What do you see here? Do you see a very similar pattern as INA or not really? Exactly. So, exactly. It takes a while for these patterns to play out, right? Because think about it from the perspective of this is the breakdown point. This is when everything went to shit on February 2025, right? Now, how do we know? Even like think about it from the perspective that if one coin starts breaking above, there is a high likelihood that the other one will follow. So what that means is even if I'm not taking a Mantle as a trade, right? This is a good indication for me to keep holding INA or add on into the risk because it's a very similar pattern as we just highlighted. Like, it's very similar, man, especially on the daily, right? Is when all this starts sort of breaking down. So now when you see through your coins or whatever you want to sort of invest in, right? When you start seeing these ones breaking up, then strong coins more than likely will follow, man. And this is what I'm tracking. So this is a very interesting one that I'm tracking. So this could be a really good trade right here. It could be risky, but right now, if we are in below this box, like in between this box right now, right? Call it liquidity box, call it resistance box, call it whatever you want to call it, right? But then a good trade might be either right there, that's a high risk trade. But then if it plays out, you have a very easy invalidation here. And then if this decides to keep going, it's going to go to all-time highs, more than likely. So you have your risk one, and probably your risk reward is at least to 6 with no risk. Well, no risk. If it starts playing out, then you get 1 to 6. What that means is if your risk if your risk $1,000, you're gonna make 6,000, right? And then you move your stop loss, and then so on and so forth. So this could be one that I really like, that I'm following closely. What I don't like, this massive candle about there. Let's see if we have more consolidation, more price action here before it starts going up. If not, then I'll start seeing in smaller time frames if this thesis plays out. But with that being said, if I'm not able to take mantle, I'm looking for betas on mantle, and I think Init could be one of them, right? So I want to do some more. I did talk about this one a little bit. So Init could be a really good mantle beta. Could be. I'm not saying it is, but if I'm right, then more than likely this could be a really interesting trade, because now you have a very good invalidation, and then you got your first sort of, if you miss mantle, then this could be the next one, you know. So that's kind of another one that I'm looking. So man, market is getting hot. Just be careful on leverage, be careful how much size are you using and things like that. And yeah, I was getting position on Sora, and Sora just went nuts, man. Sora went nuts, and I think it's gonna keep going, man. Sora, for those ones that don't know what Sora does, is you know, it's now the token of Coinbase created like a social app that people will get paid on Sora. It's a very interesting concept. It's brand new. Only beta testers are testing it, so it's not open to the public yet. So that's something that I'm still watching. Unfortunately, yeah, too risky for the group. So yeah. Besides that, that's about it, guys.
That's amazing, Maurizio. What a fantastic roundup. Okay, we'll call it there.
All right, guys. So see you tomorrow. Yeah, let's see what we have this week, man. It's looking good. It's looking pretty
Have
good.
a good week, everyone. Ta-da.
All right, guys. Have a